everybody? It is the Awesemo.com Nhl Dfs strategy show. Big 8-gamer on a Monday. We've had a good run of Monday slates here. Lots of games, prize pools. We'd like them to be a little bit better, but not too bad, all things considered. There's a bunch of other sports going on. You guys know the deal. And today, it's not Terry. Terry's going to be focusing more on NBA and NHL going forward. It's going to be Josh Harris, as you guys see on screen, the inventor of the Josh stack. What's up, man?
What's going on? Interesting little weekend. I know a lot of guys in chat had a nice weekend. I know there was a bad stat correction that was brutal, but he's still had a good weekend. But good to be back on a Monday.
Yeah, we've had a couple of subs just all of a sudden get red hot here, so that's good to see. Hopefully, I'm assuming they're using the tools on the site. They're helping out a lot in Slack, and I think that's one of the best things that we have going for us, especially for NHL. Like, we've got a good group of a couple hundred people, that are coming in and out, sharing information, sharing line combos, all that good stuff. So if you guys are interested in signing up for an NHL package or a platinum package, you can always ask me questions. My Twitter DMs are open. Josh's might be as well if you got any questions. And then
the answer is another story, but they're open.
yeah. I try to answer as many as I can. Sometimes I miss a couple. I think people have to request to message me or something. And then
that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes I have a couple in there that I don't get to, but anyways, I'll probably get to it, and love to help you guys out, pick out a package that might be best for you. And then if you've got any questions about promos that we have going on, if you go to awesemo.com/promos, you'll be able to see any active ones we've got going on. They come along every once in a while, usually for the weekly passes. How was your weekend for DFS?
It's actually pretty good. Baseball cash, hockey cash. For MMA was a mess, but that whole card was a mess. The fight got canceled right after lock. They're bad judging. Actually, no. Did I cash? Yeah, no, I did cash. I did cash MMA
because too many cashes.
Yeah, I didn't have the canceled fight, and I was on the right end of a couple split decisions.
All right. Well, you like to see that. I'm going to be playing some more MMA going forward. It is a fun sport every time I play. I was watching a little bit of it on Saturday night. So if you guys are interested in that.
Clean sweat if there's no shenanigans.
Yeah, so the first MMA slate I played in a while, and then you messaged me like 3 minutes after lock, like, oh, a guy got a fight just got completely called off. So that was fun. I don't think that ended up killing me. I got back most of my entry fees. So not too bad when you don't think. I think I needed the underdog to win in the main event. I can't remember. I think I would have had a pretty nice cash if that would have happened. But
Nashville needed to win, but he got pieced up.
That's what I heard. But if you guys are interested in UFC, MMA, DFS, we've got a huge card coming up next week. I looked at some of the contests on some of the main sites, and I'm seeing 200K up top over on DK. I know FanDuel is going to have some big contests as well. And if you want access to all the projections, the ownership projections, the top fighter tool, the lineup builder, and the premium Slack, as we've talked about already, UFC 261 is the code that's going to get you 50% off of a monthly pass for Awesemo MMA. So we usually don't do monthly passes, but with the big card coming up, we're offering you half off the first month of your Awesemo Plus MMA pass. And that is code UFC 261 if you want to try that out. All right, let's get into it. We've got 8 games to discuss. We've got Carolina and Tampa Bay. I don't have the lineup builder, so while I pull that up, I'll just introduce the game really quick. The implied total is 2.7 for Carolina, 2.8 for Tampa Bay, and I believe it's going to be Mrazek and Vasilevsky as your goalies. Might be a good one to watch for like hockey purposes if you like the game. For DFS, it's tough because both of these teams are very good possession teams. Tampa Bay, one of the better defensive teams. So is there anything you're drawn to here from a NHL DFS tournament perspective?
Not in a limited amount of lineups, but the more lineups you build, there are some stuff that you can get to. So Tampa Bay's home, so they're going to send out the Gore, Gaudreau, Coleman line against the Aho, Svechnikov, Fost line. And it kind of, like, they're not one of those lines where I'm like, oh, I got to avoid them at all costs, like the Eriksson Ek. But you definitely have to make a note when you're going up against them. They are very good defensively. So I mean, if you want to get to a little bit of Carolina 1 and MME, I guess that's fine. Not something that I would probably do. I'd probably be under the field there. So you start moving down Carolina, you would assume that the Palat Point, Barry Boulet line is going to get the Trocheck, Netchus, Martinook. So I would kind of be off Carolina there, the Carolina second line. Like Trocheck 7,000 is a bit too expensive, especially going into Tampa Bay. If you want to use Netchus as a one-off, I guess that's fine. Martinook doesn't do too much for me. But where I would go for Carolina is that third line. Niederreiter, Stahl, and Fogle. They're going to get the bottom six of Tampa, probably the Killorn, Cirelli, Johnson line. Tampa is a good defensive team, but they have some injuries. They're not a powerhouse right now. They will be in the playoffs when everyone's healthy. So I think, if you want to go to that third line for Tampa, get some good matchups, I think you can do that in MMA for sure. Their ownership is very low. It is a third line, so you won't need much to get over the field, but I do like that line. And then on the Tampa side, I think, that top line fully correlated on the power play. Barry Boulet is still 2,600. There is questions. Maybe Cirelli moves up to the top power play, but I haven't heard anything definitive. So if they are fully correlated power play one going into that Trocheck line, it's an okay spot. Like I get it because they're fully correlated. If you want to go to them in MME, that's fine. The Gord, Gaudreau, Coleman line, getting the Aho, Svechnikov, Fost line. I don't think I would full stack, but I would maybe take a piece or two just because the minutes are going to be there. I don't mind a one-off play Coleman at 3,000. And that third line getting the Stahl, Niederreiter, Fogle matchup, I probably don't want any piece of.
Yeah, I actually do like the call on Carolina 3. So that was one line that I wrote down earlier when I went through everything. And so, it's just one of those things where if you're looking to play some more Edmonton, if you want to throw in a couple Edmonton 1, Carolina 3 lineups, that will fit. You still have to get a little bit punty with the rest of your lineups because it's not like these guys are all 2,500, but cheap enough where you can fit them in with some of the top options. And then really good 5-on-5 line. So you're not really playing them for the power play. You're playing them for the just them being solid at even strength. Not that you really want to attack Tampa that much, but with the cheap line, if you get a goal and maybe a little bit extra, you might be able to find Carolina 3 on a winning lineup. You talked about the matchups, Gord versus Aho, Svechnikov, Fost line. I feel like that probably is going to cancel itself out. So I don't know that I'm going to get to a ton of either side of those. If I had to choose just one, it would probably be the Tampa 3. Well, I'm seeing them as Tampa 2 actually on the lineup builder. So that,
but
it looks like they finally made the change. They've been Tampa 2 for the whole season pretty much. Really good line. That's going to bring up their ownership a little bit, but not to the point where I think you need to worry about them being too popular. And then everyone the new toy, Barre Boulet, 2,600, potentially power play 1, at worst power play 2 playing on Point and Palat's line. So I could see myself getting to a little bit of Tampa 1, but like I said, I don't think there's anything in this game that really strikes me as a priority. It's more just filler stacks, pretty good price points kind of all around, and probably off of the top 2 Carolina lines for me. Any defensemen we need to talk about?
I mean, if you're using that top, the either power play, you can put in Dougie or Hedman. They're both really expensive. I don't know if you need to go there. On the Tampa side, there's some good punts tonight. Chernak, 3,300. McDonough's down to 3,400. David Savard playing over 20 minutes tonight at 2,800. So I think there's a lot to like from a punt standpoint on Tampa Bay. On Carolina, if you want to dump down to a Brett Pesce, he's down to 3,400. I think that's fine. Slavin also 3,400, and Brady Shea 2,700. There's as much as you don't want to go all in on one of these lines in one of the 3 lineups, I think there's a lot of punt defensemen to like in this game.
Yeah, bunch of guys on the Tampa side, not used to seeing Savard and Chernak and McDonough all cheap at the same time. Usually it's one or 2 of those guys. Well, not Savard, he just came over, but usually it one guy that's really cheap. But you've got 3 options there that I think you can punt with. Wouldn't go down to Luke Shen. He's probably gonna only play 7 to 10 minutes tonight. They really just play their top 5 guys and whatever's left for that 6th defenseman for Tampa. So don't be going there. On the Carolina side, I like the Pesce call, 3,400. You mentioned Pesce, right? I know you mentioned Shea, but Pesce PP2, 3,400. He's the guy I've been playing a bunch of recently for whatever reason, I guess. Let's go to Columbus and Florida. 2.2 implied total for the Jackets, 3.4 for the Panthers. Merzlikins and Bobrovsky are your goalies. Florida one night, Josh. I'm hearing some talk about it being Florida one night. I'm seeing Marchment off the power play entirely. You've got Bennett with Huberdeau and Duclair as a second line, and then our boy Wenberg with Vetrano and Hornquist. It's going to be a Florida game for sure, but I mean, are you just going with the super, super popular Florida one here?
Yeah, and, Wenberg is everyone's boy. He doesn't even have an ownership projection. That's how good he is, He's just so good. No ownership. Just put him in. You win.
The Alexander. He's Alexander on some sites. He's Alex on some sites. Yeah. I think
the dictation with the names is just
it's the worst. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, last week Cliffy and I were on. We're saying we got to save that Nikita Gusev matchup for a better matchup, and this is the matchup. So Max Domi is going to be a healthy scratch tonight. Torts is tortsing. Who knows what his lines are going to be? But listen, I wish it was anyone but Mason Marchment on the top line. He hasn't done anything next to Barkov, which it's hard to be an NHL player if you can't get on the score sheet with one of the best centers in the NHL. But he, for some reason, is still up there. So I think what you can do with Florida here is use Barkov and Gusev, and then mix and match the third guy. Put in Huberdeau, put in Hornquist. Hornquist on the third line at 7,000. He's going to go wildly overlooked. So if you want to get a unique three-man, because Barkov and Gusev are going to be super chalky, I think you can put in Hornquist. Overpriced third line Hornquist on power play 1, but I think he will be very low owned. So I think you can mix and match on the Florida power play there. Matchups, I'm not really sure with the lines. I would want to attack whoever the line is on, but with Domi out, there could be a mix and match. Maybe Atkinson, Roslovic, Bjorkstrand stick together, but we have to see with Torts. But without knowing for sure, I think that is the safest route to go with the Panthers, mix and match power play 1. If you want a full stack of line, I think, I'm not really interested. I think if I was going to do it, it would be the top line. It would or the second line. I know some people like Sam Bennett, but I think really it's a Florida Panther play night, and barring any crazy line changes that we don't know about, I'm probably going to be out on the Jackets tonight.
Yeah. So Marchment, you make a good point about him. He's managed to not really do anything playing a handful of games with Barkov, while Barkov is playing well. He's putting up points. And so Gusev's the guy. So it's Barkov number 1, obviously. Gusev 1A, 1B, whatever you want to call it. I think he is a priority for me with almost all of my Barkov lineups. And then, like you said, you throw in Huberdeau and some of those. If you want to do the 3-man forward stack, you can just go Barkov, Gusev, and leave off Marchment. But if Marchment's going to be in double digits here, he probably shouldn't be. That being said, on some of my Florida 1 lineups, I will have the full stack because he's going to be so much lower than those two guys because he's not on the power play because he doesn't do a whole lot. But if it's the Joe Thornton night where he double dongs, you're going to feel really dumb if you play a bunch of Florida 1 and you don't have any Marchment. So it's kind of a hedge. I'm going to end up with my 5-6% of Marchment, or maybe it's 8%. I don't know what it's going to be, but I'll end up with some of him because I just have to. So, anything else in this game? Do you want to talk about anything on the Blue Jacket side? Are you looking to stack anything even for a deep MME play?
I doubt it. I mean, if Atkinson, Roslovic, Bjorkstrand are together and all the lines are a mess, I would imagine the Barkov line sees them. So I'd probably be out on that. But if they throw I don't know, Texier with Line A and someone, maybe I'd have some interest in a deep punt with Texier if you're trying to fit in Edmonton power play. He's min priced on the top power play. So he's someone that might find my way into some Edmonton power play lineups. That's depending on where he slots in the lineup. But, if you want to have a Seth Jones or even a Michael Del Zotto, because he's seeing the minutes, what year is it? We're touting Michael Del Zotto, but he's 2,900. He's seeing over 20 minutes. I think you can put him in on the Columbus side.
Yeah. I actually was getting to some of the Columbus 1 line here, but I just never confident they're going to keep things together. They might switch things up after pregame skate. So even if you get the right pregame skate lines, like they're always live to switch. So they're a pretty frustrating team for me, especially on a big slate like this. I'll probably just end up going very light on anything Columbus. We still have Domi in the ownership and stuff because I think some of the sites still have them listed on there, but we'll get that corrected this afternoon. We just got an ownership update if you guys want to check that out. I believe ownership, NHL ownership projections are free for today, as well as NBA ownership projections, as well as MLB rankings. I'm playing some MLB tonight. I saw they had an $8 150 max. So it's a price point I'm willing to donate some on. Are you playing some MLB tonight?
I am in on MLB tonight.
Right. Make sure you guys tune in to all the shows we got coming on. We got a couple hours of NBA, a couple hours of MLB. Never cheated for free stuff on the Awesemo.com YouTube channel. And if you want to help us out, we would greatly appreciate if you subscribe to the channel. If you like what we do, there's really no downside to doing it. You can always unsubscribe, but I think you guys will enjoy if you subscribe to the channel. You get some notifications on my days when I'm off. Sometimes I forget, and I'll see the NHL strategy shows going live, and it'll be a Josh and Cliffy show. So I'll have to tune in, but you get useful stuff like that when you subscribe and turn on your notifications. All right, next game, we have Detroit and the Dallas Stars. Another barn burner here, 2.2 implied total for the Wings, 3.2 for the Stars. Kind of the same deal as the previous game. Really low total for the road team. Not a team that's great for DFS, as we saw on display on Saturday night. Detroit won, got put together. They put Larkin with Vrana and Zadina. So I redid all my lineups. I ended up with a ton of Detroit won. I think they were my first or second highest on stack, not being on Detroit the entire day. And then, they just completely dudded. They weren't that bad at 5-on-5. They just didn't score. So those kind of things happen. It's a Dallas Stars night for me, though. I'm assuming you are in the same boat here, assuming Hintz is going to play, but it is a 7:30 Eastern start.
Hintz skated this morning. So
all right.
The beat reporters are expecting him to be in, and if that's the case, I love Dallas one tonight for multiple reasons. One, they're very expensive, which means people are just going to go right to Edmonton. They're going to be overlooked. They're in no man's land in the price. They're not going to get Dylan Larkin. Not that matchups really matter, but that Fasca line is going to take care of Larkin, which frees up Dallas one to get depth. You want to call it depth? Like they're just bad. Like the Wings depth is just bad. They're going to get, who knows, Rasmussen, Panik, and Footbilla, or Helm, Glendening, and Ernie. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, this is a great matchup for Dallas one. I wish Jason Robertson was on the top power play, but beggars can't be choosers here. The line is, they're over 20,000. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Let me see here. I'm just pulling up top stacks.
13.8, $20,200. They're going to go overlooked because everyone's going to go to Edmonton. Everyone's going to go to Vegas. So I think the Dallas Stars are one of the best spots of the night. I'm going to be way over the field on them in all formats, like MME, single entry. Cash is a different story. There's no need to get over the field in cash. But I love Dallas one tonight. I even like Dallas two. Dickinson, Ben, Gurionov. Specifically Ben and Gurionov. That pair has been very good the past few games. I think you can go to them as well. They're not overly expensive of a duo, so I think you can go there. Even don't mind the Fasca line as a deep punt if you're trying to get in, the more expensive stuff and you're off Dallas one, just because they're going to get minutes. Going against Larkin, and it is the Red Wings, and their price is in check, and their ownership's in check, so I don't mind them at all. Fasca facing Larkin is going to take me out on the Larkin line, and there really is not much after that, so I'm probably going to be out on the Red Wings outside of maybe a defenseman here and there.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much out on the Red Wings as well. It would just be perfect if Detroit one does nothing against, I think they're playing the Blackhawks the other night at home, good spot, and then they just go off against the Faxa line, like a line that I usually don't cross lines off, as I say all the time, but sometimes I will, especially on a big slate like tonight. So I might just end up crossing off Larkin and using them on another day. Hope people sour on them and then finding them in a better matchup. But yeah, that Faxa line is really tough. They hard match as hard as anyone in the league, and they're dirt cheap. So they're going to see a lot of minutes against a line that you probably wouldn't expect to be very strong defensively. So top 3 for Dallas are all in play. Top line, like I agree with everything you said on them. Wish Robertson was power play 1, but if they're going to be like half to a third of the ownership of like Calgary 1, which we have them projected for right now, like that's easy for me. Like I'll be over on Dallas 1. I'll be over on Dallas 2, and I'd come in under on a line like Calgary 1, just a team that hasn't been very good this year. And they're pretty aggressive chalk for an 8-game slate. So we'll get to them a little bit later. But if we're comparison shopping here, like Dallas is one of, if not my top priority of the night now. If you take out Edmonton 1, I guess they're probably number 1 for everyone. But Dallas is a pretty close second for me right now. Heiskanen, Klingberg, both on the top power play. Do you have a strong preference between those two guys?
If you're power play stacking using Dallas 1, I think you go Klingberg. If you're one-offing, I think you go Heiskanen. You can go Lindell too. I mean, like if you're using the first or second line, you get a little bit of correlation with Robertson. You get a little bit of correlation with Guryanov. You get the top pair of minutes. They'll see 5-on-5 time with Dallas 1, so I don't mind that. Alexiak's getting a bit pricey for me at 3,700. I usually like him 35 and under. And then on the Red Wings side, I don't know if you want to use,
Mark Stahl, say it.
No. Well, I don't know how to pronounce the last name. Dennis Cholowski. Cholowski. There it is.
Yeah, Cholowski.
Good dude. Yeah. I don't mind him in price top pair, but I probably am going to be off the Red Wings entirely.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the Hawks and the Predators. 2.6 implied total for the Blackhawks, 2.9 for the Predators. Probably Lankinen against Saros, who it's his birthday tonight. So there you go. There's Narrative Street starting probably on his birthday. Then going to go out and tear it up tonight after a big win against these lowly Hawks. Although I did look at the standings today. I do this every few weeks. And I like these two teams are fighting for a playoff spot. I would have thought that they were bottom of the division.
They're going opposite directions now, though, I think, a little bit.
So you're saying Chicago is falling off a cliff and Nashville. Yeah, I mean, you get Yossi back, you get Ellis back, you get Ekholm healthy. I don't know. I think Forsberg is expected to be back at some point, but his injuries kind of lingered for a while there. You get Duchesne back. So, I mean, if you think they're going in a good direction here, are you going to be on some Preds tonight?
I like every time we do a show, I look at Nashville 2 ownership and I lose my mind. They're projected for 10%. Like, I don't want to play 10% Luke Cunnin. Like, I just don't want to play Luke Cunnin at all. Like, I'm hoping Matt Duchesne moves up at some point, but I'm going to be off, that second line. If you want a 2-man like Yarncroc and Granlund, that's perfectly fine. They're super cheap. They're like 8,700 for the duo. But if I was going to full stack a line, I think it would be that top line, Grimaldi, Ryjo, and Arvidsson. Ryjo's down to 3,000, and he is on the top power play. I mean, he is what he is. Like, I don't even know what a comparable would be at this point, but I think I would play. Lindbergh. Yeah, probably one. He's probably worse than Lindbergh at this point, but he's on the top power play. So, like, I don't mind that. I don't mind that top line. If you want to go to that second line, full stack it, perfectly fine. I'm personally, I'm going to leave off Luke Cunnin and go for like a Granlund, Yarncroc, and Yossi 3-man type of deal. I even don't mind that third line, Duchesne, Haula, Cousins. If you want to do Duchesne, Haula, 2-man, that will fit. That will let you fit in Edmonton power play, Edmonton 1, that type of deal, the expensive stuff. Haula's on the top power play, Duchesne's on power play 2, but they're 5,800 for the combo. And, that frees up a lot of stuff. On the Blackhawks side, Patty Kane is going to get his ownership. I really don't like these lines from a 5-on-5 standpoint. Yeah. It's just tough to full stack anything. If you want to go to, like a power play type of deal, you can always put your Kane and DeBrincats together if you want to do that. You want to put Kane, DeBrincat, Doc with Kubalik, something like that. Like, I think if I had a full stack line, it would be that second line, Doc, DeBrincat, Hagel. Other than that, I probably mix and match on the power play. but it's kind of tough with the way the Hawks lines are to really get a good grasp on them in MME.
Yeah, I think like for the Hawks, they're another one of those teams where you're just not confident their lines are going to stick together. So while it might look nice that they've got like really cheap line one, Suter has been going up and down the lineup all season. So sometimes it's with Kane, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's Doc, Kane, DeBrincat. Sometimes it's Strome with Doc and DeBrincat. So like they just can't. Like you don't have to keep your lines every game, but they just never seem to keep things together for more than one game. And so on a big slate here, like I want some sort of correlation. So I think the way that I want to attack the Hawks is just to play the power play. So you go Doc, Kane, and DeBrincat. And so you're not really saving a whole lot of money. I guess Doc's pretty cheap, but at least you get three guys in the top power play. And if you want to throw in Duncan Keith for 4,300, that's fine. But because if you just use the lines, they might pop up as good values because Kane's going to carry a $3,800 and a $2,500 forward with him just because of his raw points. That line is going to project pretty well for us. So I'm kind of off the Chicago normal lines as they're on the lineup sites, but maybe some of the power play here is what I would get to. Nashville 2, just a little bit too popular for me to think about getting over the field on them. I do like the Nashville 1 call. And then I'll even throw in Nashville 3, Duchesne, Halla, and Cousins. I like that as a filler stack. No one on that line above 3K on DraftKings. So definitely in on some of that because there is a pretty expensive line that we're going to want to stack coming up here in a few minutes. Anything else you want to fawn over Yossi, or should I?
I mean, he's underpriced, and so like getting over the field on Yossi tonight should be. I don't know if I want to say like a priority. Like if Edmonton 1's your priority, it's going to tough to get over the field on Yossi. But if in your non-Edmonton lineups, I think I'd rather play Yossi over Dougie. I'd rather play Yossi over Hedman. Out of the expensive D-man, I think it's a Yossi night.
It is a Yossi night for me as well. I've been more of a Hedman guy recently, and you could argue Pietrangelo or Shea Theodore in the late night hammer also up there. So I think all those guys are up there. Yossi's right now my number one guy. He just came up a little bit in the ownership projections. I think we had him at like 16, 17% earlier. Now he's up to almost 24%. So the thing I'm a little bit worried about with him is if you go two mid-tier lines, you put him in, you might get duped. And I don't want to be duped on a big slate. So as long as I'm not duped, he's going to be a guy that I try to jam in, or I'll try to get Fantasy Cruncher to jam in with the rules I'm using. Ellis, if you want to go to him, or Ekholm, 4,200 and 3,900, I think are both awesome plays. Keith, power play 1. I think I'm only playing him in Blackhawks power play stacks, like with the Kane, DeBrincat, Taze forwards. I don't really want to play Keith as a one-off tonight.
Yeah, it's Keith or bust on the Hawk side, but only in power play lineups.
Connor Murphy's up to 5K. What is going on?
He's been over 5K for like a few weeks now. It's just ridiculous.
It's got to be his block shot rate or something. That he's just something makes him spike in the DK algorithm. Before we move it on to the second half of our slate here, we're down 4 games. We've got 4 more remaining. Just want to remind everyone that our sponsor of the show is JockMKT. If you guys haven't checked out JockMKT, you should. Not only because they're giving you free money, Awesemo NHL 20 for a $20 bonus on your first deposit. If you haven't taken advantage of that yet, you're really not getting deposit bonus offers at other sites. And JockMKT is one of the sites that is doing that. So you should take advantage. Might as well go check it out. It's kind of like DFS. It's kind of like the stock market. You can buy and sell players, and then you can pick up shares of guys during games. You can sell during the games. You can hold during the games, and it's all based on your own analysis. It's an app, so all you got to do is download it in the App Store. It's Jock, Jock, Market MKT, and you can find that in your App Store. Use the deposit bonus. This is an Awesemo exclusive offer. So if you're watching this or you're watching some of our other shows, you are the only ones that have access to this $20 deposit bonus. All right, let's go to Minnesota and Arizona. 2.9 implied total for the Wild, 2.5 for the Yotes, Cam Talbot and Darcy Kemper. are the goalies that I have penciled in here. Schmaltz, Keller, Garland back together. I know Nihas is pumped. He was DMing me earlier. He said to mention it to you how fired up he was about playing some Arizona 1. There's been some talk about Arizona 1. I know Cliffy's on board. Are you on board with Arizona 1 here at under 3% ownership?
Okay. Yes, but I'm a bit worried here for this reason. We've been on Arizona 1 before in like good matchups. And the one I remember is the Kings. Like they're supposed to get the Kings depth, but Arizona put out that top line and almost hard match Kopitar exclusively. Now, if they do that to Rask, Zuccarello, Kaprizov, that's a great matchup. But what I worry is they're going to put out that line against Joel Eriksson, at Greenway, and Foligno. Like it's in the back of my head going, this coach doesn't know what he's doing. Yeah. And it worries me. Now, if you can assure me that they're not going to see the Joel Eriksson Ek line, yes, I like Arizona 1. Especially if they get that Kaprizov, Rask, Zuccarello line. They are not good defensively. So I think definitely, at that ownership, despite what their coach may do, I think I would be over the field in Arizona 1 and hope their coach realizes not to put them out against Joel Eriksson Ek. So, yeah. That line has been very good. Clayton Keller is on power play too, but his play driving numbers have been very good. This is the best iteration of any line on the Coyotes. So regardless of what happens line matching wise, you hope they hard match the Rask line, but at that ownership, I think you go over the field. Other than that, on the Coyote side, it's a bit tough, like Krause, Dvorak, Pitlick. Nothing to ride home about. Hunt, Larson, Kessel. Again, nothing to ride home about. Fourth line, 5K, Mike Bunting. Like, no. So it's Arizona 1 or bust. On the Minnesota side, Bonino? No. He is on power play 1.
Tyler has PTSD, our producer, for anybody watching at home.
You say Bonino, all of his hair raised. Listen, on the Minnesota side, I don't know. Like, if you want to play that top line, maybe they don't. Maybe Arizona puts out the Larson, Kessel, Hunt line against them. I think you can play them. They are really weirdly priced. Like Kaprizov at 7,200 is a weird price for him. Rask, does bring that down. He's only 2,800. If you want to play, that line for 15,000, I guess it's okay. It'd probably be an MME play for me. Where I would go on the wild side is going to be Fiala, Hartman, Marcus Johansson. That would be the line I would full stack. But other than that, I would, maybe have some Rask Kaprizov duos, maybe a little Zuccarello. But from a full line standpoint, it would be that Fiala line, and then over the field, Arizona 1.
Yeah, I think there's that chance that they hard match the Eriksson at Greenway Foligno line.
If anyone's dumb enough to do it, it'd be the Coyotes.
Yeah, I mean, could not be an easier path to victory, it seems like, or if they want to score goals, which usually you got to score goals to win games, would be to put your best line up against any of the Minnesota lines that aren't Eriksson at Greenway Foligno, because that is exactly what Minnesota would do if they were at home here. They had last change. So I'm going to hope that Arizona's not doing that. Maybe they do that early in the game and then they get ran over for a period. But they're 2% owned, 3% owned. Maybe they come up to 5-6%, but they're expensive enough, especially Garland over 6K. You can't really fit them with Edmonton. And so it's going to be one or the other. Not that you can't have both and make multiple lineups. I'm certainly going to have a lot of both, but I think I'm going to get to like 10+% of Arizona 1, maybe even more. They might be a top 3 owned line for me tonight. I think it's that good of a spot, assuming that they don't. Like if they would crush the Rask, Kaprizov, Zuccarello line. I think they would crush the Hartman, Fiala, Johansson line. That line's been pretty poor defensively as well. So as long as they avoid Eriksson Ek, I think they should have a great chance at least generating a ton of shots, a ton of scoring chances. Whether they finish them, who knows? But they're good enough that I think they are a priority for me tonight. So. Maybe not at the level as Florida, maybe not at the level as Dallas, but in that next tier for me. Arizona 1, I think, is the play. I'm seeing Goligoski on top power play with Chychrun. They took off or they took off Keller on the top power play to put in Goligoski. Is that true? So they're rocking 2 defensemen.
Or they took off Dvorak, I think. I don't know. They took off somebody.
Yikes.
But Goligoski is expensive now. Like, I guess it's fine still at 4,500, but I liked it better when he was like 2,800.
Yeah. I'm catching up on chat here. Can I please just fade this game and be done with it? I don't really love anything on the Minnesota side.
Yeah.
I'd probably have some interest in Eriksson Ek and Greenway if they were getting any sort of power play time. But Eriksson Ek's 5,200, not really a goal scorer, nor is Greenway, but they are great at shutting teams down. But on the road, a little bit different of a story. Minnesota is really balancing out their minutes between their 4 lines now with your boy Bonino and Parise playing well, scoring. Both of those guys are recently. So you're not seeing like this 4th line get 8 minutes a game. They're going to get like 12, 13 more often than not. So defenseman on the Wild, got your normal Dumba and Spurgeon. Dumba's 4,400 only. Don't have a problem with that. And then I'm going to try to get in Chikrin with some Arizona 1, but he is 6,800. Yeah. Higher price than Yossi. I think he's right around Hedman's price. Where's Hedman at? 6,900. So he's one of the highest priced defensemen on the slate.
He's $1,000 more than Shea Theodore. Like, he will be low owned though.
Yeah, I mean, he's got huge upside. I think he's got a hat trick this year. Like, he's not a slouch or anything. Like, he deserves a high price, but overpriced defenseman with a reasonably priced top line. I think I'm going to make that work in a bunch of my lineups tonight. We good on that game?
We are good.
All right. Ottawa, Calgary, 2.4 implied total for the Sens, 3.5 for the Flames. Matt Murray and Markstrom are your goalies. I have Calgary 1 written down on my little post-it note here. I do like them. This would be a spot where I would be on them, but the ownership just doesn't seem right. Like, they've had a couple nice games, this top line, and they're fully correlated, and it's Tkachuk, and he's a good DFS player. And, Lindholm and Gaudreau can score, and Gaudreau's 4,800, but the ownership is pretty crazy right now. So are you just, not caring about this ownership? You're just going to find a way to get different, or would this be a stack that you would shy away from?
So what I'm about to say, if Cliffy was on with me, he'd be off the camera doing the Jack Nicholson gif. I'm on the Ottawa side here.
All right, let's hear it.
Listen, like, the Flames have a big total. They're playing the Sens. Matt Murray's in net. Cliffy rang off the stats about how bad Matt Murray was in goal, but like, you have to take stands somewhere on big slates. You have to. And this line's 17,000. Calgary 1. They're projected around 20%. The Flames just have not been good this season. So, like, I'm going to fade them. I like the top line of Ottawa. They're fully correlated on the power play. Brady Tkachuk, Norris, Batherson. They're coming in around 2%. They are going to get that Lindholm Gaudreau-Tkachuk matchup, but I like them fully correlated at their ownership. Now you start moving down the lineups, and the Stützle White Dadonov line, assuming Stützle is back in, is going to get the Monahan Mangiapane Richie matchup, and that's just brutal. Like, I like Ottawa too here. Like, that's a line you want to attack. I'm not sure Stützle slots back in on power play 1. I'm not 100% on that. Yes, Cliffy giving me the Jack.
Yeah, I was just reading
that. So like, I like the top 6 of Ottawa tonight. Don't get me wrong. I like Calgary 1, but not at their ownership.
Yeah, I'm
going to fade them at their ownership. And then moving down the lineup, Calgary 2 doesn't really do too much for me. If you want to have a Monahan Mangiapane mini, stack for power play 2 correlation, that's fine. But really, like, I'm off Calgary 1 because of ownership. I'm off Calgary 2 because they've just been bad. And I'm on Ottawa because, they're fully correlated. They've been like, they're the only team that hasn't been shut out this season. They're going to score. Their ownership's in check. The Flames aren't a very good team. Their total is 2.4, but the Flames just aren't good. So, like, I want to be over the field on the Sens tonight.
Seems like a classic letdown spot for, like, the bad team that's chalk, that's up against the other bad team that's, like an eighth of the ownership right now, Ottawa 1 compared to Calgary 1. So we talked about we just talked about Arizona won. They're cheaper, and I think they're like that'd be neck and neck for me if they were the exact same ownership, and the ownership gap is massive. Like exponentially more owned is Calgary 1 than Arizona 1. So if I was hand building a lineup, it would not be Calgary 1. Playing a bunch of lineups, like I guess I would have to like play around with their ownership and manually change it the way that I filter out some of these lineups and see. I think it would have to be closer to 10 to 12% for Calgary 1 for me to play a substantial amount of them here. But at close to 20%, like there's just other lines that are in as good of spots, I think, or better at a fraction of the ownership. So it's just an ownership pivot for me. I like the Ottawa 1 call though. I had them written down as well, like fully correlated, same price range. Like I wonder if anybody's done a study on this, but I wonder how negatively correlated it would be them compared to Calgary 1. Like it seems far-fetched they would both go off. Like we don't game stack for a reason. So if you want to play some Ottawa 1, you're probably like, if you get that one right, you're probably getting the Calgary side correct as well if you're fading that. So I'm definitely going to be over the field on Ottawa 1. Not as high on the second and third lines for Ottawa. And then I want to play Backlund if he was with Mangiapane, but Backlund, Lucic, Nordstrom, no thanks. Monahan, Mangiapane, Richie, like it's just not pretty. So everyone's going to go to the top line on Calgary. It's understandable, but just going elsewhere tonight, I think. Gio, 6,200. Hannafin, Shabbat, 6,300. Would you add him on? That gets a little bit pricey if you do that.
Yeah, I mean, like obviously you can't fit, Ottawa 1 in with Edmonton or Vegas or, Dallas. So you're going to be fading those teams anyway. So you might be able to put in Shabbat there and fit him with a Florida 1, something like that. I haven't fooled around with that.
Oh, you could definitely do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I like adding Shabbat in for sure.
Yeah. 26-2 remaining for center, wing, utility, D, and goalie. You could easily get to a mid-tier line, that Nashville line. Any of the Nashville lines, really. Like, there's going to be a bunch of options. So, looked expensive. But if you're not going to Edmonton 1, you can pretty much make it work. Some softer pricing today on the other sites. Let's go to Montreal and Edmonton. 2.8 implied total for the Canadiens, 3.2 for the Oilers. I'm seeing Allen, but Price came back over the weekend, so it might be Price. Mike Smith probably for the Oilers. McDavid, Draisaitl, both on the top power play, both on the top line. No Nugent Hopkins for this game. Puljujarvi, he's kind of the third wheel, but a pretty darn good third wheel, 4,300 secondary power play time. He does play some with the Edmonton top power play. He kind of slides in there for Chiasson every once in a while and to get a minute or two. But Chiasson line 3, if you want to go with the power play stack, and Yamamoto is 3,300. So tons of ways to stack Edmonton, provided you can get in McDavid and Draisaitl. They're popular, but maybe not as popular as they should be according to the top stacks tool. Seems like the spot. So I doubt you're going to talk me off of it, but what do you got in this game?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know who they're going to match up with. I would imagine they maybe go out against Suzuki Toffoli. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
I would think, yeah, it's probably Suzuki Toffoli. Maybe they avoid the Tatar line.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking for reasons to fade them tonight, and I can't really find any other than their ownership, but their ownership really isn't that high. Like, they're around the same spot as Calgary 1, especially if you include Puljujarvi. Like, we have him at half the ownership, basically, as McDavid. You add him in. Like, yeah, he's not fully on the top power play, but he's going to see a little bit of time there. The Montreal Canadiens penalty kill isn't great. Granted, they have not been taking as many penalties recently, but that line, McDavid, Draisaitl 5-5, they're just going to run people over. It is what it is. If you are going to stack the power play, I think you still full stack Edmonton 1 and you add in a Yamamoto. Like, this isn't – since Yamamoto's only 3,300, I don't know if you need to go to Chiasson tonight. You can, but I think you can add in Yamamoto add in Barry, do the Edmonton one with Yamamoto and Barry. And I still think that would be a unique way to go about it. So if the McDavid line is going to get the Suzuki line, I like this Drouin, Kotkaniemi, Byron line. They're going to get whatever else is left in Edmonton. It's not McDavid. Nugent Hopkins is out. Like Gaetan Haas is not a second line center in the NHL. Kotkaniemi, Drouin, Byron, not elite goal scorers by any stretch of the imagination, but it is Mike Smith. It is the depth of the Oilers. Like for the Canadiens team who have so many injuries and they still have a 2.8 total on the road, like that speaks more to how bad the Oilers depth is. I think, you can go to Tatar, Deneau, Anderson. I think that line, if they avoid McDavid, is good as well. So yeah, Edmonton 1 is the best play of the night, best play in this game. But I think, there is a lot to like on the Canadian side once you get past the McDavid match.
Yeah, I think Aaron said Edmonton talk. Imagine that. I mean, yeah, like it's a great spot. It's a good total. It's a team that, they've done a better job of staying out of the penalty box recently, but that doesn't mean they're not going to take 4 penalties tonight. Like that would put them around their average or just slightly over. So, if you give 3 power play opportunities to Edmonton in the spot, you think they're probably going to convert 1. They're really awesome at generating chances at 5-on-5. It's not really a matchup you're scared of. So yeah, that's my spiel on Edmonton 1. It's just a matter of, can you make good lineups? Can you fill in the rest of your lineup with good players that are low owned? Can you do some 3-2-1s? And you can. It's a big enough slate that I'm not that worried about their ownership. But yeah, Montreal, pretty good spot for them, I think. If no one's going to be on them, we're showing sub 1% ownership for pretty much everyone in their top 9. And so they're balanced. We don't know exactly how the matchups are going to go. I want to get to some Suzuki, Tivoli, and Armia. They've been really good in their short sample and just no ownership. Maybe some people will leave off Armia. I would never do such a thing. I mean, Armia is my boy. So I think I'll have a little bit of that. And then Kotkaniemi with Drouin and Byron is just super, super cheap. And like you mentioned, they're going to get the Gaetan Haas's of the world, the Juhar Karas of the world, like just borderline NHL players. And they're only in the league because McDavid and Draisaitl score 3 points every game and, drag them to a good record, it seems like. Tyson Barrie, 6,100. Darnell Nurse, 6,700. I think everybody knows what to do there. I'm still at the point where I think I'm just playing Tyson Barrie in Edmonton 1 stacks. Anything on the Canadian side for defensemen?
Yeah, I mean, like Petrie at 6,000 is a little pricey for me. Weber at 5,300 is a little pricey for me. I think I'm probably just going to be off the Canadians defenseman altogether. Maybe have a little Romanoff, but that's about it.
Man, I haven't played really any of Weber and Petrie lately. Like they're just not shooting as much as they need to be for these prices. Their prices haven't really come down. So tough for me to get to a lot of Edmonton or Montreal defensemen there. Before we get to the last game of the night, and it is going to be a good one, I think a pretty fun late night hammer, depending on what side you come out of it on. Just want to remind everyone, if you use promo code Awesemo NHL20 on JockMarket, the sponsor of the show, you get a $20 deposit bonus. And no one's really doing deposit bonuses. We're not hearing a lot of that these days. And so if you want to play some JockMarket, it's basically stocks and fantasy sports combined. It's a really fun format over there. So go check it out. It's an app on your phone. Don't really have to go on the desktop for it. Just use it on your phone. Super easy. We've had a bunch of people that have had success with that so far. So I would encourage you guys to go check them out. UFC 261, if you want to get 50% off your first month of Awesemo Plus MMA. Huge card coming up this weekend. So go check that out. Josh is excited for that. I'm excited to play some DFS, probably donate some money, but I'll be using the tools on the site. So I'll have an upper hand on a lot of the field, as will you guys when you use that promo code. Last game of the night. Oh, by the way, if you guys could like the show, subscribe to the channel, makes us look good for the bosses that are probably watching this show. San Jose, Vegas, 2.2 implied total for the Sharks, 3.5 for the Knights. Marty Jones, Robin Leonard. Vegas won for me here. Vegas game, I mean, Vegas 1, Vegas 2, whatever it is. Sharks lines kind of stink. Do you like anything on the Sharks? And then talk about how much you like Vegas.
I mean, I don't know what these Sharks lines are. Like Kane, Couture, Gregor, Hurdle, Balsers, Marlowe, Gambrell, Sorensen, Donato, and then Timo, Kelman, and LeBanc on the fourth line. Like that line might actually interest me. Like not against Vegas though. Like I guess like maybe they do because Vegas has been a little bit leaky defensively, but I probably save them for another time. I don't really want to be touting fourth lines on a big slate. Vegas won for me. Their ownership's in check, coming around 10%. Riley Smith is a game time decision, so I'm not sure they're going to hard match the Carlson line against Couture. It might be Stevenson, Stone, Pacioretty against Couture line, which is fine without LeBanc there. I'm not sure how Gregor is defensively. I would imagine he is not as good. But Vegas one is an elite line. They are on a back-to-back, but it is Martin Jones in net. It is the Sharks. They are porous defensively, so Vegas one for me. If Riley Smith is out, I would venture that Matthias Janmark moves up. So I kind of like that second line. I like a tuck one off. I'm probably going to – the way the Sharks lines are constituted, I'm going to be off the Sharks tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to see something different from the Sharks. I wanted to see Timo Hurdle together or, just like two competent lines, because then I think you could play at least one that's not going to face Stevenson with Pacioretty and Stone. So, Vegas night, Vegas onslaught. I think you can Josh stack them if you want. It's Marty Jones in net. We're due for a classic Marty Jones game, although I think he had a couple of those against the Ducks last week. So maybe he'll show out against the good team.
Too. So, like, you put in both Martinez and Theodore with Vegas one, that is a unique build. No one does that.
Yep. That's you lock in, 40 plus minutes from your defenseman, power play one time, all that good stuff. And then it's just going to be a build that people are not on at all. So you got Shea, you got Alec Martinez, you got Alex Pietrangelo, a lot of options. Vegas 1, Vegas 2, and Vegas 3 all in play for me. I'm going to try to prioritize Vegas 1. They're in that second tier with Florida 1 and Dallas 1 for me tonight. So a little above Arizona 1, I think, even with the ownership. But it's going to be split between the two. Riley Smith game time decisions. So just be aware of that. If you're hammering Vegas 2, you might have to make a quick swap. And you just swap to Alex Tuck because he might just, jump right up there. Anything else on this slate before we head out? All good? All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining. It will be Cliffy and Josh breaking it down tomorrow. Good luck until then, and we'll see you soon.